Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Pull-Up Trade Podcast. I'm of course your host Samson Folk, and I'm joined, as always, by Trevon Heath, the Trey that pulls up. Trey, we're here. As you can see, for people who are watching the video, the draft banner is gone. We're abandoning draft talk for the first time in like 2 months, dude, to talk about Giannis rumors. We're going to be the 19th Toronto podcast to discuss Giannis to the Raptors, and we're coming at it like a week later than everybody. We're the last to it. I think Catherine discussed it. I think the Run It Back boys discussed it. Hello and Welcome discussed it.
Yep.
We're the last at the table. We're also discussing Scottie potentially in Jamaica for their national team. We also have a couple guys that we're going to be talking about in regards to potential signings for the Raptors. We're leaving the draft stuff at the door. Although next week, I believe we're doing a huge mock draft because Trey and I, by the time we get to that mock draft, we'll have talked about like 30 prospects, which is way more than we've ever done. And we finally, I think, have the width of knowledge to be able to like kind of dig in. So make sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. I'm on a heater, man. It helps the podcast. It really helps us out here. And we're going to start with Scottie Barnes, Team Jamaica. I'll set the scene before you get excited because you are excited.
Just a little bit.
So the Thompson twins are a yes. And the guy who broke the Thompson twins is who broke Scottie potentially playing for Team Jamaica. Norman Powell is a yes. Devin Vassell is rumored. Beef Stew out of Detroit is rumored. They are building a squad, but if you're looking at the best player potentially there, it would be one Scottie Barnes. What does this mean for a Jamaican man like yourself?
Scottie Barnes has thrusted himself, in my eyes now, as the greatest Raptor who has ever lived.
Man, come on, dude.
He has made one of the large. I know the Kawhi brought a championship. I never thought I would ever see this, but Scottie Barnes has now committed to the greatest contribution in my basketball life.
Wow!
By committing to this great nation. I've been manifesting this for months. People have been leaving comments like, yeah, Jamaica would be cool. It'd be fun in 2028. We are now a terror. We are now a contender for a medal. They've got tons of guys. We just need a point guard. Jalen Brunson's Jamaican as well. Why be on the bench for Tyrese Halliburton when you can lead a great nation to a silver medal, maybe even golds if the old guys don't come and play in 2028.
So
I'm happy.
What if this is like Embiid? What if he plays in your face and leaves for the United States team? He's played for them before as a kid.
Yeah, I think he got it as one of the FIBA World Cups. I think he got invited to play too, and he declined. But
he got invited to a camp.
Yes,
he went to a camp.
Yeah. If he commits and then pulls out, I will become the biggest Scottie Barnes hater on this podcast. I don't care who's in my DMs. I don't care how many threats I would see. Scottie Barnes would rule the day that he disses Jamaica.
So let's discuss it. He'd be the best player there.
Yeah.
Maybe not he's probably the best shot creator. I think Devin Vassell, Norm Powell, Scottie Barnes, I think are all in the same tier probably, but Scottie has the most upside to get beyond that, especially by 2028. I mean, this is a long road. Mm-hmm. They could start practicing. How do you actually feel? We've discussed this a little bit in the past, but Team Canada, chalk, as we understand it now, versus Team Jamaica, who do you think wins?
It's a little tougher now. Jamal Murray might not be that good in 2028. Are you asking me right now or 2028?
2028. We'll set the scene because we're gonna be doing this podcast by then. Yeah. I don't know what it looks like, but we'll be able to revisit this conversation.
Okay. I don't think Jamal Murray is gonna be that good in 2028. SGA, I think, will still be MVP level. Nembhard's probably their starting guard by then. Andrew Wiggins won't be playing. No. RJ would be a little older. I think they have.
Brooks,
Where we yeah,
SGA, Nemhard, Edie,
Edie, yeah.
and whoever the hell else.
See, Edie would be a big issue. Beef stew's too
Yes,
small for him. He would be a very big issue. So I think Canada obviously still wins, but I think they like Jamaica would have a chance to be like the best defense in the world. If you at least 1 through 4, if you have the Thompson twins plus Scottie there as well, Devin Vassell isn't a sleeve on defense as well.
he's
So I think,
good. I
yeah.
think I think Devin Vassell is above average for sure. Norm is
So
not. The
this,
NBA court versus FIBA court looms quite large here.
and I think Scottie's game translates very, very well into FIBA, especially because he's huge. He can rebound. He'll be able to defend other guys, especially other wings in a smaller court. Like, I think they like would muck it up, and Canada wins by like 2 or 3 because SGA like has heroics towards the end.
Yeah. Will Riley could be in the mix, I guess,
Yeah,
as a wing. He could potentially be the 4. I think Canada comfortably wins
comfortably.
in FIBA. In FIBA.
Yeah.
In FIBA, yes. But on an NBA floor, it get out and run, more space to cover. It might look a little bit tough for the Canadian squad. But I think in FIBA, I think Canada is comfortably up.
They need a guard still. We need Jalen Brunson to shoo aside the colonizer and come play for Jamaica, please.
Man, Brunson would be pretty old, wouldn't he?
Yeah, 28 would he probably be like how old is Jalen Brunson? I think he's like 30 right now, if I'm not
Although he
mistaken.
won't have the 4 years of Thibodeau tax, I guess. Maybe he
He's only
plays a little bit less.
he's turning 29 in August. Yeah, he'd be
He
33.
will play. He's Jalen Brunson. He would
Yeah.
play.
He just wouldn't be I don't think he'll be a star then though.
Yeah. That's also an interesting stylistic fit between all those guys. Is like, although
Yeah.
Thompson twins, I think, are a pretty fun fit next to Brunson as far as like helping him out defensively. God,
Yeah.
Brunson would be probably nasty business on defense by then. But
Yeah,
yeah,
that'd be tough.
offensively, they have some things to sort out. Unless there's unforeseen developments here. But yeah,
They need a
fun to
Tom they
consider.
they need a Thompson twin to pop. Like if Amin becomes all NBA good and like the shot comes, then like they're cooking with gas. But at the same time, that also might mean that he ends up playing for the States. The same thing with Scottie. Like he hits his like upper percentile and becomes all NBA guy, which I would bet on by 2028.
Yeah.
That becomes the looming issue.
Well,
But
actually, let's throw down the gauntlet. We threw it down for the draft lottery.
yeah.
There's a listener right now. You get $100 from me if Scottie Barnes does not have an All NBA
Yeah.
selection by 2028.
Yeah,
If he
for sure.
doesn't, I'm like, damn, what happened, dude?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, that would be incredibly disappointing. So
Yeah.
let's take that there. We just talked about Amen perhaps popping, Scottie perhaps popping, having popped more. Those are the two biggest fish out there for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis is an MVP candidate year in and year out. He's a champion, a Finals MVP. He just lost to the Pacers and was out. This is his 3rd year in a row where it's like early. And we're also looking at a guy who he's looking at the team around him, and that's why it's bubbling up. That's why the trade stuff is on the horizon. The Raptors finally, it's not a home run, but you
Mhm.
can finally make sense of the connection between Masai and Giannis. You can make sense of Toronto as an international city and this stuff not hurting their cause because
Yep.
being in Toronto has hurt their cause with free agents before. It's
Mhm.
a real there's a chance. This isn't cope. This isn't,
Yeah.
just hopefulness. This isn't fan fiction. There's a real chance. How do you feel about it? Let's discuss it without Scottie there first, which makes it a lot more tough to accomplish. Obviously, you'd haggle.
Yeah.
Giannis would probably have to be telling the Bucks like, "You guys owe me. Please send me somewhere I want to be.
Yeah.
I brought you guys a chip first in 50 years since Kareem. Help me out here." What do you make of a Scottie Giannis pairing?
Pairing together?
Yeah, well, this is your favorite Raptor of all time, plus
That
Giannis
is
Antetokounmpo.
that is fair. It really depends. Like if Jakob's there, like it comes really funky fit offensively, really tough, obviously. But defensively, they would be like one of the largest like mobile teams like we've probably ever seen. They'd be able to switch every action. they'd be able to get to the every weak side attempt, and they would muck up tons of games. And especially like in the fast break where they're rebounding, I imagine Giannis and Scottie both going at the same time, and both of them in transition would be electric. They I think they would obviously it's that would be the perfect scenario if you have like your long-term linchpin with the guy that you hopefully can take you to a championship, and hopefully that rubs off on Scotty as well. Um in terms of like contention, I think it obviously instantly makes them a contender. But I think similar to like teams that were like the Knicks, for example, it's such a massive trade. Like within the first year, you kind of need time and probably multiple years to like shake up the roster enough to be able to win and come out of the East, because you still have guys 6 through 10 who haven't proven that they're NBA players yet, and you're hoping to get there. And their timeline doesn't fit with the Giannis Scotty timeline. So like I think Masai would need time to figure that out. But overall, like it would be a home run.
It would be super exciting to be able to cover Giannis in Toronto. I
Yeah.
mean, it would be unbelievable. It's of course like going out the other side would be an incredible bevy of whatever they could possibly offer. You
Yeah.
know, RJ would obviously go because of his contract. IQ, you would assume, is like, we got to keep that guy because of his shooting and his stability at the guard position,
Mhm.
which a team with not only Scotty, but Giannis absolutely needs, as good as those guys both are as point forwards. A guy like Grady, you would probably be so excited at the idea of him playing next to Giannis, but he's gone.
Yeah.
He is a Milwaukee Buck. Jacoby potentially a Milwaukee Buck. Picks out the wazoo. However, the most realistic version, I think, of Giannis coming to Toronto is where Toronto throws caution to the wind completely.
Mm.
And Scotty Barnes is by far the most of it, like the best trade chip that anybody might like could lay their eyes
Yeah.
on. Just in the league, because as far as guys who Scotty made an All-Star game, didn't
Mm.
make it this year. That he's so young, he's so good, and he's underrated right now probably, that like, man. But I honestly I don't think Scotty is in the talks. Like, I don't know if it's a non-starter. Like, let's the Bucks call up the
Yeah.
Raptors. You like Giannis, right? You wanted to get him in the draft. You called around. You begged and pleaded. We watched Open Gym. Do you want him now? And then they say, yeah, of course, we want Giannis. What's it going
Yeah.
to take? And they say, it starts with Scotty. What do you think Masai says?
I think you have to you can't make him untouchable. I think the difference with like this and like other like star trades around the league, like kind of seen like top 5, top 10 players be traded before. We've seen Kevin Durant get traded. The difference is like Giannis is like one of the 20 best players who's ever played basketball, and he's still in his prime. He just had a 5-year run that really only a guy like Shaq can match. You would put yourself in a position to instantly win a championship and be in contention. And similar to 2019, you've seen like a cosmic shift in the East. Well, Jason Tatum's obviously not LeBron, but the East is significantly weaker than it would be in a normal year. And there's probably only 3, maybe 4 teams contending. So you have an opportunity to win immediately. And with the Brandon Ingram trade, you've acquired a second star with Giannis, and he's played with a guy similar to Brandon Ingram who has all-star potential and can reach those heights again. So like my heart says like I wouldn't do it. He's a Jamaican. I would hate for that to happen. But it would be dumb not to trade Scotty for a guy that good, even if he hits his highest potential and he makes multiple all NBAs in the 10 years he's with the Raptors, or 15 years. The odds of him becoming one of the top 20 players of all time and winning an MVP, being in multiple MVP conversations, is very, very slim. So I would do it, sadly.
So Giannis just put up 30, 12, and 6.
Jesus.
And he's as close to 6 as he was to 7. He shot 60% from the floor. Obviously, we know he shot terribly from 3. He
Mhm.
was really he shot 62% from the free throw line, but his mid-range jumper was actually like a major positive this year. There's some adaptability to his game at this point. He just had his 30-year-old season. How many more years of MVP, like top 3, top 4 voting do you think you're getting from Giannis? Because
I
that's what's
think
important probably.
Yeah. I think at minimum 3. I think if you're optimistic, 5, and like some of the touch stuff comes along, he becomes more of a back to the basket guy. The mid range pops, he has some face up stuff as he's like 34, 35. But I wouldn't really bank on it. I think 3 years of Giannis is like still worth it. The Raptors have never had a long term player like that who's been that good. It still would be worth watching.
Okay, let's get into the meta conversation here. Scottie just signed a max contract, right?
Yep. Yep.
Starts next season. That's 4 years. You get 4 years before Scottie can decide whether or not he wants to be a Raptor or not in free agency once again. You trade for Giannis, and let's check how many more years does Giannis has? I guess 2 more full years on
Yep.
his contract, and you assume if you get him to Toronto, you can keep him there probably,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
you would probably have a little bit of a conversation with Giannis prior to that. You got 4 years guaranteed of Scottie, ages whatever the hell to whatever the hell.
Mhm.
He's what, 23 right now, 22. I
Yeah.
actually don't know. That you're hoping a couple All NBA selections at the very least, right? Two would be
Yeah.
really nice. You'd be pretty shocked. I think most people would be shocked he jumps into like top 5 in MVP voting. You
Mhm.
get 2 surefire years from Giannis where I think he gives you like top 3 MVP.
Yeah.
Who else is jumping into that? Raptors fans, a lot of them prior to this season, if we're going to use the Pacers are in the finals. A lot of Raptors fans thought the Raptors were in a similar tier to the Pacers at the outset of this past year.
Mhm.
That's how open the East is perceived to be. 2 years paying exorbitant money to Giannis and getting probably top 3 max. 4 years guaranteed out of Scottie. What's your calculus there? Since we've that's kind of
Yeah.
that's what it is.
You still take Giannis. If you can guarantee me that for 2 years he's going to give you 30, 12, and 6. The Raptors have never seen a season like this. We've never seen a guy at this level be here for multiple seasons. And like you be in a position, and one of the really good parts is that they have, even if they trade Scotty, they will still have picks and multiple young players where they can move and shift around to like balance out the roster with Giannis. Brandon Ingram's contract is kind of paired with them. So if it doesn't work out, like it's a kibosh, you have room, you have cap space to figure it out
Ingram's
after.
lines up pretty well with Giannis's, yeah.
Yeah, so you're in a really good position. Plus, you have all of your picks. You're in a really good situation post Giannis. 'Cause I imagine if you're offering Scotty, you're not giving 4, 5, 6 picks like it would be like
No,
like
no
the
shot.
Paul George trade. So you have
Scottie is worth
tons.
a lot.
Yeah, you have tons of ammo to build the roster around Giannis. So you'd be in a really good position to win right away. And from looking at like the Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, they gave you 10 years or 6, 7 years of like amazing basketball. But the 1 year that Kawhi Leonard brought to the city, even if they had lost in the finals, far exceeds any of those years, which I hold dear to me. It having a player of that level gives you hope. It gives you notoriety, and it puts you in a different stratosphere. So it's still worth it, even if it's 2 years.
Yeah. I know there's a lot of like this sentiment of like if you say you would trade Scottie for Giannis, they're gonna be like, stay on that side.
Yeah.
I'll I'll be on that side. As this podcast is very pro Scotty. We think he's
Yeah.
like he had a down year in a lot of ways as he developed. We didn't get way too down. We
Mhm.
kept alluding to his ceiling and his development and what he's going to be. We're still fervently like this is an all NBA player in waiting. All those things still very much believe. This is more so a vote of confidence in Giannis and Antetokounmpo. If and it's okay. I'm if people don't like it, if it comes down to it, it's like Scotty is the guy who makes Giannis come to the Raptors. I say yes. I don't know
Yeah.
if the Raptors say yes. The Raptors have kept him out of big player conversations, although none
Mhm.
as big as Giannis, but big player conversations. But me personally, I'm probably like, okay, especially since it would save you so much and
Yeah.
allow you to build around Giannis going forward. Now, if you can get both of them, then you're looking at like you can really start to do like a super funky team and you can really look at what that might be. It might make the Ingram trade look kind of like a funky
Yeah.
going back, but they might have to pivot sooner than they thought. But I mean, you just have to say yes.
Yeah.
You say yes to Giannis, I feel.
I to be honest, it's a no-brainer. You can't assess what you've seen from Scottie in the last what four years. He's heading into year 5, and think he's going to give you 2 to 3 seasons like Giannis. His season last year, which honestly went under the radar. He was never really in consideration for MVP. He kind of sleptwalked to 30, 12, and 6, which is insane with a team that
Can I
lacked
give you
depth.
quickly?
Go ahead.
MVP 1, MVP 1, MVP 4, MVP 3, MVP 3, MVP 4, MVP 3. That is the Giannis of it.
Which is just insane. You can't. It would be dumb if they don't consider him in the trade. Like you have to trade him, especially you're in an amazing situation where like it wouldn't gut your roster. You can trade him and you can pair RJ Barrett. You can get funky and add other players. You can get Bobby Portis back. The Nets are shopping Cam Johnson. He would be a nice fill in team. You could build around the team like fairly quickly and be able to contend right away. And I wouldn't be shocked if they make the Eastern Conference Finals and plays one of like the 2 or 3 teams that are going to be good in the East next year.
You know what tells me like you really mean what you're saying and you really believe it? Is you haven't mentioned the Noah board yet. That's when I know you're bullshitting. That's when I know you actually don't believe you. The Noah board, he's done miracles before. Like it's always something like that. You didn't look at Giannis's 62% and say Noah's fixing that. You said no. Whatever he comes as, that's perfect. That's exactly what we need. And I mean, how often do you get a chance to get a player like that? I mean, whether it's Scottie or whether it's not Scottie, whatever it is, I'm saying yes.
Yeah.
Now, have you considered that it's tough to build around Giannis like Goose has?
I feel like the hardest part of like develop like winning a championship is like getting the star, the really really good players. So like I don't think it's
Yes. Yes.
I don't think it's that hard. Like once you've got that player, the Bucks had Pat
Chris
Connaughton playing.
Middleton,
They were
Drew
playing
Holiday.
like people look back at that like 2021 Bucks team and you like look at the roster like they're not that good 1 through 8, to be honest. And they won a title because Giannis was so good. And I think he's a better player now than he was then, which is crazy to say, to be
Definitely
honest.
offensively. Probably
Yeah.
not defensively, but definitely offensively.
You have to do it's a no-brainer. As sad as it says, it's a no-brainer. You have to do it.
And maybe that puts, the fear of God in Scottie's heart, and he really brings it to Team Jamaica for 2020. Maybe it's grind
That's a
season.
facts. Just down with Canada. He drops his first 50 ball. He goes on the flag, stomps on it.
Yeah.
Oh man, that'd be great.
I do really wonder because, like, I'll tell you what, I believe the reporting about the Raptors' interest.
Mhm.
It was aggregated. I believe Doug said it was a rumor that he heard. Like Doug didn't
Yeah.
even stamp it as reporting, right? Because that's the difference between like my podcast, for example, is like I don't do any reporting. Now, some of the
Yeah.
things I've said have come to be true. However, I wasn't confident enough in the validity of it to like stake my claim and be like, this is a true thing that's happening. Doug
Mhm.
wasn't that either
Yeah.
for the Scotty thing. I don't know if Scotty is actually in those conversations. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
would be I'd be very surprised if they would just enter those conversations like, we'll do Scotty. They probably are holding that to the very end, like, no. Like, yeah. So
It's
I would
it's it's because it's a super slippery slope. Because if you offer Scotty and then you don't get Giannis, he's gonna remember that. He's gonna remember that at the end of the contract. Like as much as like 4 years is a long period of time, there's still going to be that moment of like distrust that they didn't. It'd be similar to like the Gordon Hayward situation. where he tried to be a Cab. They matched. He remembered 4 years later, and he left. It would be a very similar situation, and it would be very weird if he was on the team while they offered him.
Yeah. You could survive that stuff, of course. Like Kyle Lowry was giving Masai the side eye for like 7 years. He's like,
That
"What
is
are you
true.
trying to do?" He's like, "What are you trying to do over there, man? I see what you're getting up to." And it just never managed to happen. Whereas Scotty, they don't broach anything. They're like, "No, there's no shot, no chance at all." I mean, KD was reportedly available, and KD
Yeah.
was a big fan of Siakam's game. KD, the reporting and the murmurs were that like he wouldn't say no to Toronto in a way that other players that DeJounte Murray did. You know what I mean? DeJounte Murray put the kibosh on it. He was like, "No, I won't do it. I'll sign for cheaper."
Yeah.
Um, Not putting him in the KD trade or in the talks back then, that was like a hell of a vote of confidence. And Scotty's
Yeah.
paid that back. I mean, Scotty
Mhm.
is at least the level of player that people thought back then that he
Yeah.
would be now. I know year 4 didn't go exactly the way he wanted, but yeah. I mean, we're high on Scotty in that I guess compared to consensus, because we look at him and we're like, yeah, that's just an all NBA player waiting. It's hard to make all
Mhm.
NBA player. But some people go much higher on Scotty and they say like that's an MVP level candidate.
Yeah.
And while I'm not there, if you think Scotty is there and if the Raptors think he could get there, then you don't make like you'd never let
Yeah.
him go, to be honest, because it's just that's how it works. And Scotty on a max contract, it just the great thing about Scotty and why the Bucks would be, I think, why he's a better package just by himself than anything is like he is a built-in all-star. I think will become all NBA. And the
Mhm.
same reason why it'd be so tough for the Raptors to move on is like, Scotty can be one of the best three players on a championship team at the very least. Like you just
Yeah.
know that.
100%.
And he plays the right way. He can play fantastic basketball. He can play high pace. He can muck it around and be physical. He's a big, powerful wing slash forward in the playoffs. That stuff matters.
Mhm.
It's just the reason why the Bucks would say yes with him coming back is the reason why it'd be so tough for the Raptors to say yes for him going out. It's tough.
Yeah.
But I
Like
mean,
if you
Giannis, holy moly.
if you're the Bucks, you can sell yourself on the trade. Like as much as like, you're trading the best player in franchise history, you could say we're trading for a guy who's going to be an All NBA player. Is going to be here for a long period of time. Plus, we got the ninth pick, two maybe one or two other picks. RJ Barrett's like you've already have like a built-in situation.
That's what made the Mavs trade so nuts. Is because it was like Luca, the age of it,
Yeah.
because the Raptor, like, it, 80's 33, man. What were you thinking? Anyway, they won the lottery, whatever the hell
Yeah.
happened there. Anyway, they're playing in our face, dude. They think we don't see it. Um, we've been reiterating ourselves on the Giannis Scotty stuff for a little
Yeah.
bit now, but I'll just say yes, I would
Yeah.
like to see it. What else we have for you today in what is a shorter podcast episode, but a podcast nonetheless, is a couple targets for the Raptors to go after in free agency. Now, some of this is dependent on the draft.
Mhm.
Drafting is more important than signing in this
Yeah.
regard. And I still think you draft like best player available. If the Raptors love Colin Murray Boyles, get him. I don't care
Yeah.
about the fit with Scotty and Mobo and Jakob or whatever. It's like, no, just if you think a guy is fantastic, get him. And I don't know what they think of CMB. If you love a guy, love a guy.
Mhm.
That could factor into who they try and sign in the offseason. Now, if they like, is Jamal Shed the level of guard that's going to stop them from picking up a backup point guard? I don't think so.
No.
Is forward at number 9 going to sway the Raptors from trying to get a 4 or a big 3 in free agency? I think yes. I think that plays
Mm.
into it.
Yeah.
But I'll start first. A guy who I think could be in consideration for the Raptors, Trey Jones. I think
Mm.
that there is some optionality there in double guard lineups. I think that he could be like a very strong backup point guard. And I don't exactly know what his market is going to be, but I think he is a little bit underrated. And I think that
Mhm.
there's a viable avenue to the mid level exception. Now, there's a bunch of stuff up in the air for the Raptors in regards to like, is there a trade, regardless of if it's Giannis or not? I mean, they've just got rumored for Cam Johnson to move
Yeah.
up and 19 to move up to 9, right? The Nets Daily tweeted about that, who has
Yeah.
gotten stuff right in the past. And so there's a bunch of stuff up, but like Trey Jones, regardless of the roster fit, I think makes sense. Now, if they draft Fears or something, then you probably don't go that way. But Trey Jones, how do you feel about him? Spurs, long time. Then he went to the Bulls.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Like Jamal isn't at a point, I think, as like an organizer, especially on the court, where like you can say like he's a bona fide backup point guard and he's going to start. Trey Jones can play off the ball as well, off of Brandon Ingram in lineups when he gets time. So like it makes sense, and it would give yourself like some protection. Ideally, you'd want Jamal to win the job. You've invested the time. They stopped playing Davion to give Jamal minutes at certain times of the season because they obviously really believe in him. So maybe they wanted to lose some games too, but um, th- they obviously like Jamal. So I think it's similar to the Davion situation where you give yourself, you obviously give him some leash, but you have the best of both worlds. And when if the Raptors are as good as we hope they are, Trey Jones is going to play a lot of minutes and hopefully win those minutes.
Well, that's exactly my thinking is that the Raptors are trying to win next year.
Yeah.
If they don't win next year, something is wrong. Like wrong.
Hmm.
What the hell is happening? We just traded for Ingram, paid him a bunch of money. Everyone's paid. We're trying to win. Jamal Shed is not, while I hope Jamal proves me wrong and becomes like a starting level guard or something like that, or like a staunch great backup in the league. I don't like Trey Jones is really strong guard off the bench. I think he's a
Hmm.
tremendous organizer. Now he doesn't shoot a bunch of threes, but I think that there's a lot of unique looks where you can go he and quick in the backcourt. And
Yep.
even I think there's a lot of stuff that if you're a big believer in Jacoby, I think Jacoby and Trey could be a very unique pairing. Trey
Hmm.
and Grady could be a very unique pairing. I really like his synergy there, and especially in an offense that is going to feature like Ingram, Scottie, and
Yep.
Yak and stuff like that. A guy who gives them the ball where they like it as they develop their reps. These are a star right now or an all-star level player in Ingram and an
Hmm.
emerging star in Scottie. That kind of stuff is really important. And he's not bad on defense, certainly. I would say above average. So Trey
Yep.
Jones, I don't know if there'll be a team that might go north of the mid-level exception. That's like kind of like a no man's land for contracts right now. He'll probably be
Yeah.
around he's a guy I feel okay about.
Yeah. Agreed. Another guy, a guy for me, I've been wanting him on the Raptors for quite some time. I think I've mentioned it multiple times on our free agency type pods. Amir Coffee.
Oh yeah.
Um, yeah, I've mentioned it
This
multiple times.
we talked about this 2 months ago. And when I brought up this name, we both laughed, dude, because I just remember the offseason of 2022. I had a hankering for coffee, man. I need caffeine in my life, and I was just looking. He made so much sense with like Vision 6'9". He
Yep.
still makes sense.
Yeah, like the Raptors have a glut of like smaller wings that like 6'4", 6'5", and they need a wing that's a bit longer that can match up with some of the bigger guys in the league. And like Amir Coffey's 6'7", he can really shoot the ball. He he played tons of minutes for the Clippers this year, not as much in the playoffs, but
I'm
was a
bad. I'm bad for interrupting. I'm so sorry, but like
go ahead.
when you say Amir Coffee can really shoot the ball, does that feel like you're laying it on a bit thick? Maybe
He shot well. He shot well from three this year. He shot 40% from three.
He did shoot 41%. Actually, goddamn, maybe I gotta
That's what I'm
eat
saying.
some
He
crow.
can shoot the piss out of
Wait,
the
wait.
ball.
Cool, the piss even, wow. 24 minutes per game,
Mhm.
73 games, 3.4 attempts per game, 41%, and he shot 38% last year. He's 38% for his career. Over the last 2 seasons, he has shot over 400, and he shot like, damn, okay.
He can sling it.
He's 40% on 430 attempts over his last 2 seasons. You're putting me on.
Saying he can shoot the ball, and the Raptors need shooting and guys that can fit within like that like bigger wing slot. Like he doesn't similar to like Ochai where like he has some length that isn't like girthy or like
Wiry, yeah.
meaty. Yeah, but he would be a guy that could be tenable in tons of lineups and like doesn't need the ball. Like he could slide in as the two next to Brandon and Scottie with Jakob and be totally fine. And like great if Grady's injured, he could be a spot starter or RJ if he's on the team. He could be a spot starter for 5 games and like the lineup would be super tenable and super easy. So like please, Masai, please get this one done.
Yeah. He's probably better. I think he's has a higher floor with the Raptors than Trey Jones would. I think Trey Jones probably has a little bit higher ceiling. But
Yeah.
Coffee, I mean, that's pretty good. He's very underrated, and obviously, I was underrating him in this very conversation because I was like, "I love this guy," and you're like, "He shoots well." And I'm like, but he shot well, dude. He
Yeah.
did his thing. Um, I have a less exciting one. Was written
Okay.
about on the Raptors Republic website, but Jake LaRavia, he's not he's not that exciting, but I think I don't think he's getting the MLE. I think he's gonna be less than that. I think he's
Mhm.
like could just end up being like a pretty loose flyer that you try and make. And you wonder if that shooting pops in a meaningful way. You wonder if some of the screen craft pops in a meaningful way. And that's kind of just where it is. He's at 37% on his career. He's got a handful of attempts. Like he's
Mhm.
attempted 373s in his career. I think there are defensive holes in his game. I think offensively he could work pretty well in Darko's system. But
Mhm.
in at the forward spot, they that's not such a bad thing because like they need a guy like that for the 82 game season. Kelly Olynyk was good for the Raptors last year. Obviously, they
Yeah.
decided to move on, but he made a lot of sense. And while Jake is
Mhm.
obviously smaller, I think that they can run through similar things. He makes a little bit of sense, and I think he would be probably unless I have his market wrong. I think he's probably pretty gettable for
Yeah.
cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. He was someone that I liked in the draft. I remember talking about. We've been doing this for I guess long now. I could say
Yeah.
like I remember when we
He
talked.
he had stuff coming out of the draft. Like he very much was like, yeah, you could see it. It makes sense. He
Mm.
also we talked very sparingly about it because the podcast was not yet live.
Mm.
He was the back when I was talking to all my goddamn friends who I can't be guests on the podcast anymore because they got hired to the NBA. Like 7 guys that I used to, anyway. Jake was a popular one amongst them, but from Pasadena. Does that mean something to you? Maybe he's rich.
That'd give me the like
Mhm.
it's hard to be a real guy that plays in the mud when you're rich. But
He kind of looks like Cody. He kind of looks like Cody Wiles, dude. Don't you think?
yeah,
Look at
he
this.
does.
He looks like Cody Wiles. What
Yeah,
the
he
hell?
does.
Whoa.
Cody's gonna watch this like no the fuck he doesn't.
Cody's handsomer, let's say that. But
Yeah.
there's something there. Maybe
Yeah.
and Cody as a lefty, there's a little bit of Jake LaRavia in his game we saw him play, right?
Yeah.
Although he played like Jokic when we played him, man. He was going to
Oh my
town.
god, he cooked my oh, we we need this summer, run it back, boys. We want the smoke. We're taking down all podcasts this summer.
um Man, a leg is no longer part of it, right?
Yeah.
How
I
do
guess
you
you'll
Oh god. No, I don't want to have this conversation.
fair enough. Okay. But with Laravia's a guy that I liked heading into the draft, and I think still has like more juice. Like the 3-point shot, like came around, and he was able to like that popped a bit in terms of like what you wanted to project in terms of the league, and if you have a guy that can stretch the floor, make extra passes, it in Darko's specific offense, like it helps tons of guys around him. Like when Ochai was paired with Kelly Olynyk, he became more tenable on the floor because he's an active cutter. He's very athletic, can finish at the rim, and you can feed some of those guys. Jacoby Walter, a guy that's an active cutter as well. So like in the flow of the offense, that makes tons of sense. And you can put him in lineups with Jakob Pertl, with Jonathan Mobo, and like have versatility around. So I kind of have the same idea with the next guy I
Yeah.
want on the Raptors.
He also, for a team that doesn't dribble well, having those guys who catch, survey, and make good reads is important. Who's your last guy?
I think he's a long shot 'cause I don't think he would leave his brother, but Mo Wagner would
Oh
would
yeah.
would be the next guy. I think he's in the kind of the perfect situation for him right now. But he kind of popped with Orlando since he's been there. He's always been a really good shooter that can stretch the floor. And I think the Raptors, they have tons of forwards, like not like Jake Laravia, but have tons of guys that would play the floor. They have Scottie, they have Mobo, they Bi will sometimes play the floor. So a lot of glut there. But they right now there's a massive hole at like backup center, and like he could step in that role, be a guy that can play in some of the actions that they had Kelly Olynyk do, while also being able to stretch the floor, and then also having size to guard some of the bigger centers that you would want. And he would have the versatility to play with Jakob Poeltl because he can space the floor and play double big lineups and sometimes play two bigs with Scottie and see what that looks like. So like would offer a lot of lineup versatility. He can also be trusted to score the ball some as well, like when you can throw him the ball and he'd be able to score. I think that one's probably more of a long shot just because of his current like situation, but I think he would fit well on the Raptors.
I think he makes sense too. More so as like a classical big man than I
Yeah.
don't. I'm not as big a believer. This is the second guy in a row. I doubted Coffee, but I know Wagner doesn't have the stats that Coffee did. I don't believe the Wagner shooting as much, and I think honestly he probably
Mm,
shot a little bit more than he had to or was supposed to, just because
yeah.
of being on those Magic. I wonder if it might look a little bit different with the Raptors, but he's a quality NBA big.
Mhm.
There's so much room for him to like make plays as a cutter, as a passer, as a guy who like puts the ball down every once in a while. There's definitely room. Although again, as you say, it might be tough to pull him away from Franz. I think they're
Yeah.
very close, and I think that they'll play together for a really long time. Also, he's 28. Man, Michigan. Was he at Michigan when you were? Was he
No,
across the pond at the right time?
I don't think so. I think
Mm.
the when I was in university, like the really big team was that Michigan State team, the Jaren Jackson team.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, Jaren
and
Jackson.
Adrian Payne was hanging around, right?
Yep, and then that other dude that was on the team as well, who I won't mention, but they were. I was oh, but they were really good. I went to a few games, and
Mm.
I thought Jaren Jackson was going to be Chris Bosh slash like Anthony Davis on the other, which like kind of got there, especially like this season. But like I thought he was gonna be like had a chance to be like the best player in the draft because of how good he was and how
Yeah.
crazy he was on defense.
Your first year of uni, 2012 or 13?
13.
2013? Did you catch that would have been Trey Burke's last year in Michigan, right? Did you
Yeah.
catch any game from that team? Stauskis,
Oh,
Burke,
I didn't go to any of those.
GR3? Was that like, man, did Trey stay longer than those guys? I can't remember it that well. Anyway,
Mm,
that Trey Burke team, the shot
mhm.
he hit, man, he was so fun. And I thought because I didn't know enough, I was still so young. I was like, he's going to take over in the league. And I mean, that just wasn't the
Yeah.
case. And Utah drafted him. You,
That's a death sentence.
Utah, man, there's a Keontae George Trey Burke thing here. Obviously, Keontae's bigger,
Yeah.
but man, there's something here. Hmm. They both shoot under 40% from the field, too.
Yeah.
Damn. Hmm. Man,
Yeah.
he had that fun stretch with Dallas, I remember.
I was gonna
Too.
say, yeah, it looked like he was gonna like stay in the league a bit longer when he was with Dallas, like similar to like who's the retread that they got? Uh,
Exum also.
Exum, yes,
Yep,
and he's popping right now in the league. But
yep. I mean, Exum actually went overseas and like worked on
Mm.
it, came back. Exum, man, he was really interesting. I think didn't Utah draft Exum as well?
Yeah, it's a death sentence. If you, unless you're Donovan Mitchell, if you get drafted by the Utah Jazz, it's over for you.
As a guard. That's tough. Wow.
Yeah, it is
I feel
insane.
there's something about guards in Utah, man. Holy moly. Anyway, that's probably a podcast, yeah.
Yeah.
We got a couple free agent targets to talk about. We'll of course talk about more as the free agent market, I guess, develops and
Mm.
trades whirl around and we get closer to the draft. We do have the big board / mock draft. I don't even know the difference between those two things.
Me neither.
Do you? What is a
Um,
is a mock draft? Okay, wait. I think a mock draft is what you think will happen, and a big board is your preference.
yeah, I guess so. It's hard to be. I don't know what Utah's gonna pick at 5. Like,
Yeah.
but
I'm not in like a 64 person Twitter group chat where we're like, we're gonna do a mock draft and post it on Twitter. I'm not in those conversations.
you know,
But everyone who is in those conversations knows exactly the difference between a big board and a mock draft.
Mhm.
All right. What do you want to say to the people before we get out here? Kofi
I,
Kingston next week.
yeah. Oh man, people are gonna hate me. We keep pushing this back. I'm just gonna say, like, today, let me know if I keep putting things into the universe. Stuff like today, stuff like Scottie Barnes coming to Jamaica will happen. So I'm gonna keep saying whether they trade for Giannis or whether they're not. 47 wins. We're gonna be fine regardless.
47. That's a lot of
That
wins.
is a lot of wins.
Wow. What's the greatest thing you've ever manifested?
It might be this, but maybe I'm trying to think.
Well, you think for me it was I don't manifest, but like
Yeah.
before we did the Knicks Film School podcast, I was
Mhm.
like, I'm gonna do the Knicks Film School podcast, and Ben Stiller's gonna follow me, which did
Oh
happen.
yeah, you did say that. Yeah.
But I also said he was gonna cast me in Severance, so we're waiting. We're waiting on that. Like I was like, maybe he'll listen, and he'll think I have some sort of unique vocal quality.
Hmm. I guess manifesting. Uh, at work last year, there. Well, you already know this from context for me. Like my work, they hand out tickets to people, and sometimes they do lotteries, sometimes raffles. This year for Oklahoma City, I'm like,
Hmm.
God wants me at this game. We're absolutely going to go. And then I won the raffle. They got obliterated though. It was an awful game to go to. But
Yeah,
that's manifestation. I think
tough
that's
scene.
just the key to this episode. You keep saying things will happen. Giannis will be a Raptor. 47 wins. Who knows?
Would you be happy with 47 if Giannis is a Raptor?
No, I would not. These guys suck.
Oh, that's funny. Thank you everybody for tuning in with us. Manifest in the comments whatever the hell you want. Whether you think Scottie should be traded or not. Whether you think who you want us to talk about a lot during the big board mock draft or whatever the hell, all that good stuff. Thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing from myself and Trevon. Whether you got into this in the morning or at night, have a blessed day and goodbye.